Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Unapologetic Entrepreneur, ladies and gentlemen. I am super stoked and super happy today. Oh, man, it's been an incredible journey just to get to this point. I'm going to cut right to it today, okay? It's going to be real quick and simple. Today, I am blessed. I love it. I am blessed by someone I met just in passing when I was at the 10X conference. So in passing, I got to meet some very interesting people. And I don't know, she just like got my attention, and I wanted to make sure that, it was like a small introduction. And then after hearing her story, I said, hey, I got to have you on my podcast. And you know what? She actually stuck to the word. And I love it. And thank you, Diana. Thank you for coming on. I'm actually shocked that you just said yeah, just like that, just to say it. You didn't even think about it. You didn't even ask me what's the concept of the show. You just went with it, and I'm very shocked at that. We were just talking behind the scenes about that. She didn't know what she was stepping into, but she already committed. And us business owners, when we say our word, we got to mean it, and we mean what we say. And she stuck to her word. Thank you for your commitment. I appreciate you so much. Um, Thank you for gracing our grounds today.
You're
So far,
welcome.
we got some three people here. We got Miss Carla saying hello. I want to say hi to Miss Carla. Hello. Who else is out here? Let me see who else is watching us real quick before we begin, and you start telling us all about yourself. Okay. I'm getting a little interruption there on who's here, but okay, I got Miss Takira. Takira, TT. All right, all right. These are faithful, faithful women, and I love when I have a woman on here that can really shed a light on empowerment. And you guys play such an important role in the marketplace. But enough about me. Let them know who you are, what you do, and then we'll get right on to it and ask you some questions. Really pick your brain and see your mindset.
I want to say first, that was a crazy intro. Thank you. I appreciate it. I also liked your reel that came across to introduce
Thank
the
you.
show. That was really nice. So my name's Diana Taylor, and I am ultimately I just like to call myself a coach. It's really the core of everything that I do. Is just kind of coaching people to their next level, to whatever their potential is. And so I am excited to be here. I did say yes. It's actually my own. Sometimes you guys have to make goals for yourself about who you want to be, not who you currently are. And what I wanted to be is a person that committed first and figured the rest out later. And that includes doing things like this. I'm gonna say yes, and then we'll figure out where it goes. We were in a safe place when we met. If maybe it was like a corner or something, and he's like, "Oh, be on my podcast." There might have been a little bit more hesitation, but we were at a business conference. He's here for a reason. I had a little bit of trust
Oh,
before I actually said yes. I already had a little trust just because of the room that you were in.
no, see, it always is. My mentor always says is about the rooms that you are in, and being in the right room at the right time gave me a little bit of trust. By the end of the show, I have a lot of bit of trust. So just so you guys know, there is a little surprise at the end for those of you that are here. Miss Diana is gonna be giving something away. I'm not gonna give it away yet, but she's gonna be giving out some goodies. So I didn't even ask her for that. She just told me. So we got four people on. I also want to say what's going on to Marvin, Mr. Capo. He calls me Capo. Love that man. What's going on, Marvin? So guys, don't be afraid as always to ask questions. But I'm gonna start off with the first question. Don't be afraid to post your questions. We'll be posting them as you come along. And so, Miss Diana, we met in a business summit, I mean, a business conference. So, everyone that was there was pretty much a business owner or looking to get into business, right? So, it's really easy to understand that. And this being all about entrepreneurship and also Herstory Month, I wanted to make sure I end the month with another powerful, influential female. So, I do have a question for you here, and it's throughout your journey in business, coaching, leadership, right, and inspiring, what initially drew you into entrepreneurship? What was your aha moment that solidified your path? I'm sure you had a 9 to 5 before this, right?
I did. I had a 9 to 5 forever. I thought I was gonna have a 9 to 5 forever. But it's really interesting. I was talking about this, with my sister, a couple months ago, but I didn't realize until recently that I actually did have examples of entrepreneurship growing up. My mom was married, and on his side of the family, he had a brother that actually owned two really large daycare centers. In the state that we grew up, it was one of my jobs that I worked at as a teenager. It was part of the family. Everybody goes to work through the daycare center, and I didn't think about the fact that wow, he was a great example of entrepreneurship because they were very successful in their daycare centers that they owned. I had another uncle that people don't think about this as entrepreneurship, but they were pastor of a church and they actually ran and managed the church, and that's a form of entrepreneurship. It is still a business. It just has a different mission than other businesses might have. And so my uncle was a pastor, and I saw them like really working and doing the things that they need to do. But I can say that I didn't ever see the inner workings of successful entrepreneurship until I got older. And so when I was growing up, just like probably most people that will listen to this or see this now, you're taught if you go to school and you get a degree and you do all the right things, you're going to be good and successful and you'll have a great life and you'll get a house and a cat and a dog and a husband and some kids and all that good stuff will happen. And so I had a really weird path, just because my childhood was not the smoothest. But I eventually did what was told to me, and I went to school. I got my bachelor's in marketing management. I got my master's. I got an MBA in entrepreneurship, and that MBA in entrepreneurship is when I first was really exposed to the power of people earning their wealth and their income by doing something or building something themselves. And even with that degree, I still went to corporate America and I still worked in a company for years and years and years, trying to climb up the corporate ladder before I finally made a decision to do something on my own. That decision came, as most decisions come, is you just get fed up. You get fed up with where you're at. People don't leave something that's comfortable. You
Mm,
leave your comfort zone when the pain forces you out. The pain of where you are forces you to go somewhere else, no matter what the situation is, and that's what happened to me, and it forced me to say, "I need to figure out doing my own thing." I know I have a work ethic. I'm okay working, 60 hours a week. Why can't I do it for myself? My potential to make money is gonna be better. Everything is gonna be better if I do it for myself. Um, it's a gift and a curse to say that because being an entrepreneur is not easy, but it was the pain of being where I was at in corporate America that kind of pushed me out the door to say, "It's time. It's time to do my own thing."
okay, that's great. Great answer. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Speaking about that, because with pain also comes challenges, right?
Mm.
So guys, just so you, those of you that are watching, all six of you right now, we got Coach on here. I have to watch her on my phone because for some reason it's not connecting. But Coach, what's going on? Yep, she was living the American dream. Go to school, go to work, and you'll be taken care of. That's him obviously being in his own sarcasm there. Um, it comes with some of the challenges. Like, what challenges did you face when starting out, and how did you overcome them? If you can give us one, two, just give us a challenge that you faced, because with that mindset of being in a 9 to 5 and this being preached to you, and as a young lady, which I hate to sound sexist, is a little different for what us men receive, or young boys. What were some of those challenges that you received? Because I'm sure people weren't just like, "Oh, she can do it, girl power."
So this is interesting. The first challenge is almost what you're saying, is that there's a lack of belief. And while I can say that there was some skepticism from, people around me, there wasn't an outright, "You're not going to be successful. You won't make this work. You won't make this happen." But there were years of that story being told to me since I was a child, and not directly in at school, at church, at work. On TV, you hear this story over and over again about, "Oh, you won't make it, you won't make it, you won't make it, you won't make it." And you don't realize how much you internalize that message. And so the first challenge that I had to overcome really was my own mindset. And I tell people even today that your mindset is probably 85% of the reason that you're stuck wherever you are. You're it's probably the biggest. Everybody, nothing is new, right? Like, almost any, we might do it a different way, we might do it a new way, but nothing is new. And what that means is we've got a blueprint that we could follow to do whatever it is that we want to do. But our mindset will make it so much more difficult for us. And that's probably the very first challenge that I had to deal with. The second one, and I'm sorry for everybody that's a worker, but I like to be real, because being an entrepreneur is not easy. The biggest challenge is that as an employee, I knew what I had to do and when. I had a clear job description, and I also had a group of people that were doing their thing that they were supposed to do. As an entrepreneur, especially as a solopreneur, when you start out, you're
Mm.
doing it all yourself. And there's a, like, wait, I'm used to having somebody I could say, "Go do this task," or "Take care of this one for me," or "Take care of this one." And I'm also used to having my calendar booked. Like, the time I start to the time I end, I know exactly what's going on throughout that whole time. I know exactly what assignments need to be completed, or what projects are being worked on or due. When you're
So
an
it's
entrepreneur,
predictable. It's
it's
predictable.
predictable. It's
Mhm.
predictable. But that lack of predictability is probably one of the biggest struggles people have when they first become an entrepreneur, because now you don't know what to do. And when people don't know what to do, they do nothing.
Mm.
When
I
you
love
lack
that.
knowledge, you lack action. And you will sit. And I did that. I will take full ownership. When I first stepped out, and I mean, this is the day I said, "Okay, I quit and I'm going to do this." It probably took me about 7 months of just trying to figure it out. I'm like, "Oh, I'll do this, but then today, I don't know. Should I wake up and do this? Should I wake up and do that?" It took me a long time to just, like, come to terms with the fact I'm used to working on a schedule. I'm used to this level of organization. I'm used to having this clear task of what you're supposed to do. And all of a sudden, I don't have that anymore. And I'm having to make it up on my own. Which, shameless plug, because I'm a coach, right? That's probably, everybody needs a coach. And if for nothing but the accountability.
Say,
If
say
I
that again for the people in the back.
Everybody needs a coach or a mentor, if for nothing but the accountability. Because if I had a coach when I first made the decision, I would have been so much further, so much faster. But because I didn't, and I was trying to figure it out on my own, but I didn't know what I needed to figure out. I didn't know what my schedule should look like on a day to day. I didn't know what task I needed to complete to get success. I didn't know how to talk to people, to talk about my new business. Because I didn't know, I didn't do anything. And that delay has an opportunity cost. Right? Like, think of all the money you
Mm.
miss. The more time you wait, the more time you think about the money you miss. It's just like if you work in a company. If you didn't get a raise last year and you don't get a raise this year or next year, Think of all the difference and all the extra money you missed out on those years that you're missing that raise. It's the same concept with being an entrepreneur. If you didn't know what to do during that time and you're missing out on the money, there's an opportunity cost for all of that missed action, that missed money that you could have done something else with. So,
So you got stuck for a minute there.
oh, I
7
was stuck.
Wow, wow. So that was oh, there you go. Everybody needs a coach slash mentor. There you go. Okay. What is one common mistake entrepreneurs make often? That they make often when they try to help like get through the navigation of it all. What's one of the major mistakes they make?
So,
Being that you're a coach, I'm sure you run around and you see a lot of these things. You
I
see the
think
errors
that, yep.
you're hired for, right? To come in and take the eraser and fix it. So I'm curious, what are some of the mistakes they make?
This is probably one of the bigger ones. The biggest mistake that people make is they underestimate the amount of effort that it's going to require for them to hit the goal that they want to hit.
Mm.
When you decide to be an entrepreneur, you have to commit to the work that it takes to get you there. And just because you work for yourself does not mean that you can slack off, that you can have the days, or I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to do it because I don't have anybody that I have to report to. I don't want to go here or do this yet, so I'm just going to not do it because I'm my own boss and I can tell myself what I want to do. But it's the amount of effort that it takes, and a lot of people have this belief that it, it's almost an oxymoron. You hear a lot of people say everybody can have success, and I actually agree with this. I think everybody can have success, but not everybody is willing to do the work that it takes to get them there. And have you guys ever heard that story of the iceberg, or like the little analogy of the iceberg?
Yeah, you
That's
only see the top, but you don't see the bottom.
Oh
How?
my gosh, that is so true of the entrepreneurial journey. It takes work to build yourself up to where everybody sees this great level of success and you're in this good place. There are struggles, there's growth, there's a
Like
lot
they
of
say,
things that happen.
it takes 20. Some people say it took me 20 years to be an overnight success.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's basically it. In our world, I've had some really good coaches, but some of the phrases that I've heard is things like, and we use it a lot. If you treat your entrepreneurship like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. You treat it like a job, it's
Mm,
going to pay you like a job. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. So I think people don't know when they're coming from a 9 to 5 how to translate work and business. Because when you own a business, you're always open.
yep.
Whether your lights are on or off, you're always working because your mind is always going. When you work a job, it's like, all right, time to punch out.
This
You're
is
out.
all I'm contracted for is this time to this time. I'm gone. And maybe people that are salaried might be a little bit more, accustomed to what it might be like to kind of be on all the time. There's somebody that said this. He was one of the speakers. So, by the way, we met at the 10x Growth Conference, and I am a 10x business coach. But we met there, and one of the speakers that was there, Robert from Shark Tank, the judge
Mhm.
from Shark Tank, he was a speaker at a different time. And one of the things that he said, and I'm going to mess up his quote, so forgive me, but he said, when you're an employee, your pay is directly parallel to your title. Right.
Mm.
So, whatever your title is, that's the cap of the pay that you're going to be able to make as an employee. As an entrepreneur, the amount of money that you can make is a direct reflection of the amount of value that you provide. And
Ooh, that's
that
strong. Yeah, I
that
remember that.
that
I
was
heard that one.
that was so good to me because, to your point, if you come in and you treat it as a hobby, then most likely what's happening is the amount of value that you're providing is fairly low or limited, and then you're going to frustrate yourself and also your potential clients, right? Because you're not giving true value. And when you think of it as a business, you think of all of the elements of the experience, right? Because a business is not just your department that you work in, right? there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving wheels. And as an entrepreneur, especially as a solopreneur, because there is a difference. As a solopreneur, you are all the wheels. And so maybe you clocked out at 5 o'clock from your marketing department, but then your sales department kicked in, and then your operations department still needs you to do some work, and then you got to maybe work overnight. And I'm not saying that to say that you're going to be like, oh, I'll never have time off, it's going to be the worst. But there's going to be days where you're going to give, and you're going to have to give a lot. And then there's going to be some days where you have a little bit more time freedom, and then there's the days when, or I'll say the time when you figure out what the best flow is for you. But in the beginning, m- I think everybody has the opportunity to be an entrepreneur, or not. They can work for entrepreneurs. People hire, I hire. So but I think that people thinking about the journey, just full transparency, it can be hard. It can be hard. I
But it's
like this
worth it.
question, but it's so worth it. Oh my, I'm so much happier. By the way, random, and I'll answer Carla's question that I see here in the chat. Um, I fell into a depression after my corporate role. I actually left the company because of falling into a depression. I have never been happier, with less weight on my shoulder, with less like disalignment with like my values, my spirit, than when I started working for myself. And I do have to work harder, and I do have to do a little bit more work, and I can't clock out the same way. But I've never been happier. I've never enjoyed my life more. I've never had so many more blessings come my way than now. Um, should I read her question out loud and
Yeah,
then
read
answer
them
it?
out. I mean, yeah, I didn't know you were watching there. All
I
right,
see
I
it. It
love
came up. It wasn't up at first, but they started popping up. So she says, "How has your leadership?" Carla says this. "How has your leadership style changed since starting your business?" So this one is, it's a two-part answer. And so the first thing I'll say is that while I was in corporate America, I actually took a lot of leadership training and classes. So intentionally, I tried to improve my leadership while I was actively working, and I loved helping people. My leadership style changed as an entrepreneur in two ways. One, I had to start developing my personal mastery and personal leadership more, because all those things that I mentioned in the beginning about not having a schedule to follow, not doing these different things, those are character traits and they impact your leadership style. I didn't realize that I needed to develop further, because it's easy when things are assigned to you to just do the work that's assigned and check things off a list. When something's not assigned, now you've got to dig into your discipline. Now you've got to dig into,
it.
your integrity while you're speaking to people. Not that I feel like I was not integrous, but like now this is my personal integrity versus this is a company that I'm working for, and I have a little bit of a buffer if I don't agree with what's going on or what's being said. Now this is my personal integrity. Now my it's not a matter of employee engagement, making sure that I'm motivated and have the drive from the company, making sure that I keep going. But now I have to do this. So the biggest one is I realized that I didn't have the level of discipline that I thought that I had.
Mm.
And I had to, and still do. I don't want you guys to think like, oh, like I think I'm perfect. I still do have to work regularly on my discipline, because it ensures that I have the level of opportunity and also success. Do I want to go to, I'm an introverted extrovert. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that term. My, yeah, I'm an
Guilty.
I'm an introverted extrovert. So if I am, out and about, I can interact, I can talk to people, but boy, do I like when I go home and just sit in the quiet. And my boyfriend teases me. He's like, "So are you just sitting in the dark looking at?" I'm like, "Yes." Like, "Yes, I'm just, I'm just sitting here in the dark." So I need time to recharge. But when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes your time to do that is not always at your time. So I don't want to go to networking events all the time, but do I need to? Should I? Yes. I don't always like to stay later at business conference or events because I'm so drained and tired. I even sometimes get sick after. But is it worth it? Yes. And so my discipline, so my personal leadership, leadership of others. When I was an employee, because I'm salaried, I can spend the time to give, 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 give. So I used to get the difficult employees. They knew if somebody was a problem, give them to Diana, she'll get them straightened out. And the reason that I got them straightened out is not because I'm like a hard taskmaster and I'm slapping people around. Like I'm blunt, but I'm pretty kind. But it's because I would give time, and I would give them the time that they needed to make sure that they can make the corrections that they needed. So somebody else might be like, I only want to have a meeting with my employee once a month. And I would be like, no, they need a weekly meeting with me so that I can help make sure that they're on track to do the things. Oh, you're having an issue with organization. Let's sit together and fix your calendar. Oh, you're doing that. So I would really give the time. As an entrepreneur, this sounds horrible, but you have to be selective of who you give your time to. I was telling Leonardo before the call that my one of my values this year, because you guys should all do your core values and check and see where you're at. But one of the values that I really want to focus on this year is discernment, and as a my leadership style is impacted by that as well, because now I have to be discerning on who I give my time to, because not everyone deserves my give, give, give. And that is a huge difference, even in my leadership style. So I don't have the same level, I can't have the same level of tolerance. I can't have the same level of being okay with where things are going. I can't give my time because now this costs money, right? Like there's a huge difference. And so I'd say those are the two things: my personal, and then like my style with a direct report.
Mm, that's a good one. Well, we got another question here from Mr. Kira Sullivan. I'll let them go first. She said, being a coach, what is the most important impact that you feel you have had on your client's life to help them realize that they are capable and worthy to be successful in their new endeavors? Go ahead, Kira. Wow.
What a great fancy question. I just like, in their endeavors. I love this. So I think that I kind of said this, but or maybe I don't remember what I was talking just with you about or what I said to the group. So I
Yeah,
apologize, guys.
this is
But
good. This is good. Repeat
it
it. Repetition is the best teacher.
it is mindset.
Hmm.
The biggest thing that holds everybody back is their mindset. But a lot of people haven't been taught how to expand their mindset. They haven't been taught, a different way to think, or a different perception to have, or how that experience doesn't necessarily equal this reality. And so I'd say that the biggest thing, or the most important impact that I have, is allowing people to see things a different way, and help them think bigger. Because very common, I'll get people in this one world, will I'll receive clients automatically. I'm not choosing them, they're not mine. I might be given certain clients. They'll come to me with, oh, I want to do this, this is my idea, this is my thought, right? And as their coach, my job is, one, to tell them if their thought is worth it or not. And I don't do that by saying, oh, this is a dumb idea, or oh, this is a great idea. I show them the data. So let's do the math. If we did this and we sold it for this, and we did this, then what would that earn us? What's your goal? What would life really look like? What if you could have things the way you want in your income? If you were building wealth, if you had, your physical body the way you want it, your spiritual life was set up how you want it, your recreation, your family, your profession, if everything was how you want it, what does that look like? And a lot of people like, oh, I don't need that much money, I'm okay. That's because that's usually what a
Yeah.
lot of people say. I don't need that much money, I'm fine where I'm at. Da, 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 da. I'm like, how much are you able to? This is for people that are spiritual, right? I'm Christian. So, how much are you able to give in tithes? What would happen if you could give 10 times that? How many places are you giving? How much charity are you giving away? How many times do you get to go on vacation with your family without worrying about how much it costs? You
Mm.
need money. Money equals freedom. We've been taught that money can be bad things, but money equals freedom. Even if the way you use it is not in a materialistic way, Money equals freedom. Now, you can't help your cousin, your children, your parents, or anybody without money. But if you had more, would their life be easier? Would their life be
Yeah.
better? Yes, it would.
Mhm.
And so, the biggest impact I think I've had is helping them really think bigger and expand on like who they are, and then break some of those beliefs. I've had people that'll be like the way their parents have talked to them their whole life. You know, they're just beat down individuals, to help them see themselves a different way and realize that these things aren't true. Um, I probably have that as like the feel goods of the coaching. When people hit their goals, though, now that's what makes the difference. If they say, "I want to be," I'm just going to pick a number because this is in 10x. You guys will hear this all the time if you guys ever listen. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire. Okay. So being a millionaire is great, and I do think everybody can be one, but there's a path there. There's milestones you've got to hit along the way. So what would
Yeah.
be that first big milestone that would make a difference for you in your income or your life? When people hit that number, it might be 10,000 a month, 25,000 a month, 50,000, whatever it is for them. When people hit their number, they see bigger possibilities. And this is also
It
a
stretches the mind.
Robert quote. Maybe it's Robert. I'll find out who it was. A mind once expanded cannot
Not go
contract.
back. That is Robert. I
Yeah,
just had a conversation with Coach about that, and during one of our calls, he said you should have used it, and it's true. That's what it is. Once it's expanded, it cannot retract.
it
Can't come back.
cannot.
That was
It
Robert.
cannot. It cannot. And I thought that was so powerful. So
Yeah. Well, you got. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, these are good. They're just coming in today. I haven't even gotten to mine. Hey, Diana. This is from Marvin. Hi, Diana. If you had
hi.
a chance to do something differently, what would it be? Do you feel that everything you've experienced has led you to where you are now? Or do you think making different choices could have taken your career even further? Oh, we were talking about
This is
this
this is this is deep. I feel like you're getting personal with me, Marvin.
too.
So if I had a chance to do something different, this is funny. I've had a lot of dreams like growing up, right? As we all do. And then life changes those dreams for you as different things occur. So I know that we kind of talked about like hardships and things, but like just to share like a bit of my story. I grew up in what I like to call quote unquote the hood. And so I grew up poor. My mom was like government assistance. We were on Section 8. We have food stamps, like all the good stuff. My family, this is unfortunate, but you can read about them on the FBI website for different cases that they've had. Like I grew up in that type of environment, and I was always the smart one of the family. And so they definitely protected me like this. Not that I had an interest, but just to be like completely real, they were like, "You're not going to do drugs. You're not going to do this. You're going to go to school." And the family goal for me and also for myself was that I was going to be the lawyer for the family. I was going to be the family's defense lawyer. And I had always wanted to be a lawyer. I thought it was the best thing. And I'm from the Midwest originally. And at the time, there were magnet schools. And so that meant that from middle school up, you can actually apply to what school you wanted to go to based off of the content that that school taught. And anywhere in the district, so anywhere in the city, doesn't matter if you live on, 100 blocks away from the school, you're going to get a bus. They're going to come get you. You're going to be able to go to school. And so the school I chose was a law, public service, and military magnet school. So I obviously was on the law side. All my electives were law. I was learning torts. We had a mock courtroom in my class. It sounds funny because you wouldn't think I grew up poor when I talk about my education, but I have to give them credit. They did a great job from an education standpoint. And I took advantage of the education piece. I had a horrible home life, a lot of domestic violence. And so I loved being at school because it was my escape. it was my retreat. So I would stay at everything, and I was in every club. I was I was on the debate club, the math club, the chess club. I was a pom pom girl. I ran track. I ran cross country. Any activity I could sign up for, I was in it because it let me stay away from home. And so with the law side, I'm on my path. I'm a straight A student. My whole life, straight A student. At 15,
Nice.
my mom's husband tries to kill her, and he tries to kill her in front of my sister and I. And I know I'm smiling, but that's because I've told this story so much it doesn't have any power anymore. But he tried to kill her, and he tried to kill her in front of me. But I was able to, and he'd pull the phones out the wall so we couldn't call the police. Common in our household, but this time he's like, she's bleeding, she's bloody because he's hitting her with a gun, and
Whoa.
I'm thinking he's going to shoot her and kill her. So I get away to call the police. Um, my mom's forced to she didn't want to, but she was forced to separate from her husband. They had to get a divorce. Now an income stream is missing, right? And my
Mm,
mom grew up in a time frame where the man was taking care of the woman, and she didn't know how to operate without a man taking care of her. So what does my mom do? She finds a new man. That new man doesn't like children. So she leaves us in the house that we've been growing up in to go move with this other guy. So now I have a brother. His father took him away from the situation a long time ago. But I have a sister. I have a younger sister. It's us in this house by ourselves. We're not allowed to call the house that my mom lives in because the man doesn't like the fact that she has children. And we're not allowed to go over there either, even though she only lives 3 blocks away from our home. So, me, straight A student with dreams of being a lawyer, I drop out of high school. And I drop out of high school so I can work full time so that I can take care of my sister and I, because I didn't want my sister to have to drop out of high school. I wanted her to finish. And I didn't want, I don't know where it came from, but I had this belief that I was going to be okay. So let me make sure she's okay. And so at 15, I drop out of high school. I start working at, thank God for McDonald's around the country. I started working at McDonald's. I made minimum wage. It was $4.25 an hour. And I made just enough. Thank God my mom was on Section 8. I made just enough to take care of a couple bills, but not all the way. And so when winter comes around and all these things come around, I can't afford it. So we don't have lights, we don't have heat. We're living in the house. There was a huge flood that year. So now sewer rats have come out of the streets and they're in the home with us. It was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But I'm making sure that my sister is okay so that she won't drop out of high school because she didn't have she wasn't horrible in school, but she struggled more than I do, more than I did. School is very easy to me. So how did my life change? I definitely had other things that I had wanted to do. But then life, and I don't regret it, and I think that, if the same thing happened again, I'd do the same thing all over again.
well, it's made you who you are. Of course not. You
It
know, those scars is what makes us who we are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and my sister graduated valedictorian. Like, she's a grown woman now, but she graduated valedictorian. She was speaking another language at her, so I was very proud, and it was an emotional thing for me. But I decided to go back to. I went to Job Corps. I got my GED. Then I tested out of high school for the rest of my classes. I got a scholarship to go to college. I went to college, and then I went and got my MBA. So I went back,
You went back
but
and you did it. So yeah, you're here. This is what you did. It
but
took
I
you
didn't
away
go
from
back
being
to
a
law
lawyer.
school. So this year, I'm actually going to take my LSAT, and I'm going to go to law school because I've always wanted to. I don't need to, but I've always wanted to. And I said I'm going to go back, and I'm gonna do that because it's something that I always wanted to do. So,
Wow,
but I'll
wow.
bring it into my business because I have this business structure. What law is only going to help support it, so it's actually a win-win. So,
There you go. You don't have to outsource that. And we got Mr. Mark Tarolia. He was the gentleman that was with me that you also spoke to. Uh,
oh, okay. Hi, Mark.
there's Mark
I
Tarolia.
remember.
What's your perspective? Wait, you said what's your perspective? Is it that coach is it that coach appears when the
I
student
love
is
that quote.
ready, or is the student come forward when the coach is ready?
So
Ah!
So I actually believe in both, but I lean towards the first one. And the reason I say that is, how many of you have heard something and been like, "Wow, that really resonated with me. I really get that." And then somebody in your circle says, "I told you that a year ago. I said that to you 3 weeks ago. I mentioned that to you 4 months ago. I told you about this person." And you know why? You weren't ready to hear the information. And so it almost doesn't matter if the coach is ready, because if the student's not ready, the information that they're sharing is not gonna it's not gonna resonate. They're not gonna take the details. They're not gonna listen, and they won't apply it. They have to be ready to hear the message at the time that they need to hear the message in order for anything to work. And so that's why I kind of lean towards the first one over the second one. But coaches have to be ready too. Coaches have to be ready, because if, let's say, for instance, and this is not a shameless plug, but it's going to sound like one. Let's say, for instance, after this call, somebody was like, "Diana, would you coach me?" Right? Something I said made you ready, right? Like, or you were ready because you heard something I said. But if I then start coaching you and I'm not ready, you're going to be very disappointed in the experience. You're going to be very upset that this was something that you went through or invested in and didn't get what you felt like was your money's worth. So I think the coach always needs to be ready, but the student has to be like open to that information or that knowledge, or it doesn't matter. Somebody will hear it, but it doesn't matter to that individual.
Wow. Whoa. Thank you. Woo! You're on the road, girl. This is like rapid fire. They're coming from out. I don't even know where these questions are coming from. I still haven't gotten to my list. I love it. I love it. That means you're captivating. You're intriguing. That's great. I have a
Thanks,
question for
guys.
you. Yeah, this is great. And there's something at the end for all of you to stay, by the way. And now we're up to 17. So we started low. We're on
Don't
17.
worry. I'm honoring my word, so don't worry.
Okay. I don't want to hear you. I can't do that, Betty.
Honoring my word.
um, how do you inspire and motivate entrepreneurs to dream bigger and push through these boundaries? Like, not everybody can be motivated. That's like gas.
Yep.
Some people, this motivates them, that motivates them. Some people are motivated. So, how do you motivate and get these people to actually break through the boundaries and just dream bigger?
Yeah. So I do it in two parts. So at the beginning of any coaching session with me, there's two things that I do, and the first one is an exercise, and it's something I kind of mentioned. It's about the super life, right? So That's so funny. So I have everybody do their goals. And I am not a person that allows people to be lazy when they do their goals. So if you wrote, for instance, and in those categories, I want you to do your goals in every single area of your life. There's seven main categories, right? I have you do your goals. And then based on those goals, there's three questions that I ask. If you really got to get to this goal, if you truly, truly were to hit it, and I make you this is the way the exercise goes. And maybe I'll give you this too. I'll send you this exercise. You guys can all do this on your own and see what changes in your thought process. Um, if the first question is, what's your goal in these seven areas? What's your income goal? If you could have your dream, what's your wealth goal? And wealth is passive income, means you didn't have to work. You're just earning money while you're doing whatever you want. What's your physical goal? What's your spiritual goal? What's your goal in all these areas? And the first thing is I ask people that. The second question is now 10x it. We force it on you. Now 10x that goal. So if
Mm.
you put down, I want to be a millionaire, you had to 10x to say you want to earn $10 million. If you put down that you wanted this much in wealth, you've got to 10x it, right? And it's scary, but the exercise is to get you to stretch your thinking. If you put down that there's obviously some areas you can't 10x. Like if I said I wanted to lose 20 pounds and I tried to do 200, I'll be dead. But you could now give me extra detail. Okay, I want to lose 20 pounds, but now I want to lose 20 pounds, exercise like this, enter this type of competition, do this. Like, so you expand. Oh, you want to take a vacation with your kids once a year to somewhere in the States. Now 10x it. What does it look like if we add international? What does it look like if we add this? So you have to first expand, and that's forced on you. So the that part is forced on you. But then there's three questions that we ask. And these three questions to me are some of the most powerful questions that you guys can ask yourself for any of your goals. Um, the first one is, what do I need to change? If I was to try to hit these goals, what do I personally need to change about the way I'm operating, about me, myself, about the way I think? What do I need to change? The second
Sacrifice.
question, yep. The second question is really the sacrifice because it's, what do I need to give up? What do
Mm,
I need to let go of in order for this to be a reality for me, for or a possibility for me? What do I need to give up? And sometimes that can be people. Sometimes that could be a mindset. Sometimes that could be just the way that you operate. It could be TV. It could be,
habits.
different things, habits. Yep. And then the last one is, what do I need to learn? Because we talked about this. If you don't know, you usually won't do anything at all. So if you really wanted to earn $10 million dollars as your income goal, like, and this is your super life, this is not, I want to earn it next year. Like, if ultimately this is your goal, what do you need to learn to get there? You might need to learn how to run a business. You might need to learn how to create a new brand. You might need to learn how to manage your money better. You might need to. There are things that you need to learn, and so that's the first piece that we go through. And then the second piece that we go through is the math. The reason why most people don't think big is because they can't make it real in their brain for themselves. If you can't picture it, you're going to always be skeptical of it. And so, if is anybody on this call a millionaire?
Yes.
Perfect. 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 Would anybody on this call like to be a millionaire?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
when people think of being a millionaire, they hear that number and they're like, "Wow, $1 million, right?" But if you actually do the math, you can make $1 million tons of different ways. You could charge one person something for $1 million, or you can charge 100 people, something for $100,000. You can make the money different ways, and you can go down and down and down from that. So if you really have an idea, if you have a business plan or some type of thought, and you said, "I want to be a millionaire," then how much is whatever you would do? How much does it cost? Oh, I would charge something that's, I'm just gonna make up a number that I hear people say. I'm gonna charge something that costs $1,000, right? That means you need 1,000 people to buy something for you for $1,000. How quickly do you want to be a millionaire? You want to be a millionaire this year? I need 83 people a month to buy it. But what if you want to be a millionaire in 2 years, right? Only need 41 people to earn $1 million. And as you keep doing the math, you can make it more real. So you have to give yourself the timeline, and then you have to give yourself the actual data that you're going to use. And remember that both of those numbers can change. If I want to be a millionaire faster, I can condense the time. Maybe I increase the price. If I want to take longer to become a millionaire, maybe I can sell something for a little less expensive. It just means maybe it'll take me 3 years versus somebody else 1 year that has something that's a little bit more. But when you really think about your idea, think about what you could charge for that idea, whatever that business is, and then do the math. If you do that, then it becomes real and you realize, wow, it's not as hard as I thought it was. It's not as difficult as I thought it might be. There's still work. You still got to find 40 people,
Yeah,
a
but
month.
the math is done. Now that you have your math done, it's tangible. Now it's
It's
real. Now,
tangible.
and that's all you're doing. You're taking it to something that's tangible. I did a whole flyer like that and posted it just for 6 figures so people could understand. It's not that hard to do 6 figures. It's
It
just you got to look at the math.
and if you do the math for yourself, if you do those two things, oh sorry, if you do those two things, if you do the math for yourself, right away, your brain has the ability to see how it can make it real. And once your brain can understand that, then that means you can do it. If you can understand that connection, that means you have the ability to do it. You just now need to figure out what else is missing to make it occur.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Ooh, what she's breaking it down today. Guys, this is free coaching. You better go back into the Facebook, bring it back, come rewind, because she's just giving it to you right now. We got Zakira here. She said, I apologize. Her phone died. However, do you believe that the gain, I'm not sure, there's a typo there, something, gain orphan is a situation, is situational?
The game plan, I think
The
she's trying
game
to say.
plan, yeah, the game plan is situational, or do you have a system put into place to help clients navigate through their life with traumas, limited beliefs, and dysfunctional childhood? Wow. You really went in here, girl. She might have to
So
charge
listen,
you.
one thing that I do believe, that we all have to take responsibility for is whether or not we choose to operate as a victim or as the owner of our
Mm,
story, right?
yeah.
And I think that unfortunately, a lot of people like me or with my background have dysfunctional childhoods, trauma, and probably limited beliefs that they were given, right? At some point in time, we have to decide what we're going to do to work on that for ourselves. So, as a coach, I'm primarily coaching for your business. However, those things will get in the way of your success. And so I have two recommendations for people. The first is go to therapy. You can have a coach and you can have a therapist, and there is power in making sure that you do so. People don't realize how much they hold themselves back until after they really have spent some time working on themselves, because what we're taught to do is sweep that under the rug. Oh, you'll be okay. Oh, that's, don't even think about that. You don't need to complain about it. We're taught to sweep that stuff under the rug. But guess what? If the pile under your rug gets thick enough, you will trip over it. And
Mm.
when you trip over it, you are
Jesus.
going to hurt yourself. So I definitely am a big advocate of mental health and therapy, 1000, 1000, 1000%. So depending on how deep people are stopping themselves because of these things, I'll say right on the call, listen, I think that you need to get some therapy. I think you need to talk to somebody about this and have these resolved, because we're coming up on a block over and over again because of these things. Now, limited beliefs can be changed without a therapist. Trauma and dysfunctional childhood, that's going to be something that you want a professional to help you dig through. Um, Limiting beliefs are just the stories that you tell yourself. They may have been stories that you were told, but you at some point in time started agreeing to those stories. And there's a book, it's called The Four Agreements. And I love that book because it's really talking about, at some point in time, all the lies, all the stories, everything that you heard, you started accepting as true. So, with a limiting belief, the goal is to basically learn how to challenge that when they come up. I actually am also a certified life coach. So, my clients get a little bit of a bonus because I have that background. But I try not to lean into it, because then all the sessions become personal development and coaching sessions. But in my life certification, which was actually designed by a psychologist because mental health is important, there are four ways that we get in our own way, and they are called gales. And the level of power each one of these has is based off of how internal it is versus external, right? So the gale, it's an acronym. G stands for gremlin, A stands for assumption, I stands for interpretation, and L stands for limiting belief. Limiting beliefs have the least amount of power. They're at the bottom of the list for a reason, because we can trick our brains. That's why you hear people talk about, oh, say your affirmations, do this, do that. You literally can trick your brain if you give yourself affirmations that you say over and over and over again, because just like you heard something else over and again, you started believing it. Same thing will happen if you tell yourself something positive over and over again. You'll start believing that too. So it's not an immediate fix, but it does actually work.
Repetition is the best teacher.
If you have a limiting belief, you first need to identify what they are. And that might take some journaling, that might take some answering some deep questions. There's card games that'll let you ask those questions to yourself or somebody else. But That would be the way that you get over a limiting belief and affirmations. The next one is interpretations, and an interpretation is so funny, but it's all about our perception. You could walk, let's say at work, you have a colleague, and they say hello to you every day, but you guys are walking past each other and they don't speak. And they just keep going and they just keep going. And you're like, why didn't they talk to me? Oh, they must have an attitude. Oh, they must be about upset about this. Oh, this must be happening. You interpreted this to mean something that it didn't mean. And your perception is only your reality. It's not the reality, it's just your reality. And so because you had that perception, you're going to now interact and move about the world this way because you think this, right? So all through the day, you're going to have a little attitude with that person. You might talk to them weird. You might treat them a little strange because you're still mad that they didn't walk past you and say hello when they might have just gotten eye surgery or something and can't even see the things in their peripheral vision. So they didn't notice that you walked by. Like, we don't know. And this is why communication is key. If there's uncertainty, instead of making a judgment, ask a question. It's just the easiest way to get around that. So is it true? How do we find out if it's true? We communicate to check, and then you know how you can operate or move forward from there. And I'll go through the other two fast because I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time.
Hey,
Uh,
we're in it. We're here. The numbers haven't changed. They're just getting higher. Go ahead, girl, talk.
So the A is an assumption. An assumption just means that you think because it happened before that it's going to happen again. Now, this is really the probably more common one that I get in business coaching because, oh, I am doing my cold outreach to potential clients and I made 10 calls and nobody answered. I'm not going to make calls anymore. So because they assumed that because they made 10 calls and no one answered, if they made 1,000, it was going to be the exact same result. And the assumptions are the ones that hold you back. This is, you see, we're getting higher on the list. They hold people back from most of their success because people quit or give up too soon because they have an assumption that they're not going to be able to get success in whatever it is. Somebody on a, I'm just making up stories. By the way, I'm working on my analogies. I'm not the greatest, but I've been getting better at them. So this is an analogy. If I'm on a dating site and everybody that I'm clicking yes to or something all tell me no, then I'm going to be like, I'm tired of this dating site. I don't want to do this anymore. No one wants me. I'm just going to leave this alone. That's an assumption because if you could just be right, the next person could have been that person, and you just missed out on the opportunity. I'm going to read this. I like quotes, and this is one that I thought was pretty cool. If you knew that you were 30 rejections away from the love of your life, how fast would you try to get rejected? How fast would you try to make it happen? And I think the same way, for businesses, right? If you knew you were 30 failures away from your success, how fast would you want to fail?
Right away. Not
I want to
now.
get it over
Yesterday.
with. Like, let's fail 30 times today, so I'm a success tomorrow. So assumptions, though, because you assume that that failure or that rejection or that lack of answer is how it will always be, people stop and people just stop. There's that picture. I remember this when I was younger of that person that was digging for gold and they dug this hole
We
and then they
actually
quit.
just read that book. That was one
See?
of our books. Is 3 feet from gold.
See?
Okay.
And that's what happens a lot of times because you assume, but more than likely, if you keep going, then you're going to actually be able to break through whatever it is. The thing with assumption, though, that I do say in business, this is a little coaching nugget for you guys, is that the assumption is that nothing's going to happen, but what should be happening is the learning. What could I do different? What was I doing that was, and where did I get the reaction? What most people do, they just are like, I'm just going to give up, but they don't take the time to self-reflect to see if maybe they needed to change something in the way that they were actually operating so that they could get a better result. If I'm calling and everybody, and I help my clients with their scripts, right? Even their phone scripts for their sales teams. If they're calling and everybody hangs up as soon as they start talking about what their business is, you know what that means? 2 sentences before, I needed to say something better to hook the person into wanting to stay on the phone with me. So that means I'm not capturing their attention. If they hang up when I ask to make an appointment, that means 2 sentences before that, because there is a flow of what a sales script should be like. 2 sentences before that is when I'm giving my value proposition. I need to adjust my value proposition because the value wasn't there to make them want to say that they wanted to book an appointment. Usually, wherever your failure is, it's the step before. 1 or 2 steps before is where you messed up. And if you actually took the time to self reflect, you can make those adjustments instead of just quitting altogether. Um,
Ooh, good
so,
stuff.
the last one is your gremlin. And gremlin is, have you guys ever seen Gremlins, the movie? I don't know how
Yes,
old everybody is. Okay. I,
I
I asked
have.
I
It's
asked somebody that was like in their 20s and they were like, "What?" So in the movie Gremlins, there's the cute little furry fur ball, right? It's so adorable. It looks like one of those little stuffed animal toys with the big eyes. Everybody likes it, right? And it's there and it's sweet and it's doing good things and people love it. And then it touches water, and if those things get water on them, they become terrors. They destroy, they kill, they hurt, they pull things down, they pull you down, they pull you back. Your gremlin is just like that. That's your voice talking to you. It's not a limiting belief. There's a difference between a gremlin and a limiting belief. A limiting belief is like money doesn't grow on trees, or only rich people can get rich, or things of that nature. So it's a generalized belief that you've accepted about the world and the way that you operate in it. Your gremlin is your voice that's telling you that you're not good enough. I can't do this because nobody's going to think I'm smart enough. I can't do this because I don't have the ability to create something successful, or I couldn't get promoted because I'm not as good as this person. That's your voice telling you that you're not good enough. And the way that you work on your gremlin, because it never leaves you, it never leaves. You just have to learn how to silence it. Is to remember that your gremlin started with pure intentions. And it usually happened in your childhood, but at some point in time, it was protecting you from the harm or the hurt that you felt based on something. I know somebody that had to go back and think through their stories. They don't like making friends, they don't like interacting with people. And so they never would be successful at networking groups because they have this belief that people are going to be mean, people are going to be rude, so they don't want to interact with people. They figured out their story. And when they were young, they were a military child. And whenever they'd go to a new school, they'd see a group of people, they'd come up to the circle, and people would just ignore them. And people would just be like, who are you? And kind of treat them poorly. So they started not caring and going on, well, I don't need to make new friends, because they were protecting themselves from that hurt, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's perfect when you're a child and you need a level of protection. It hurts because it touched some water when you're an adult and it's holding you back, or it's destroying your success, or it's destroying different parts of your life because you're still operating. You don't need your gremlin anymore. Tell it thank you and then go about your business, or use it. My gremlin used to be that I'm not smart enough because I was a high school dropout. So I used to really be conflicted about my intelligence versus my peers that went to college right away. They had this full college experience. They got to go to these schools that they wanted, even though I had been a straight A student up until that time, right? I always felt like I wasn't smart enough, and so I needed to get more degrees and more certificates and more learning and more. I needed to do more all the time, and I would drown myself in knowledge. And now, what I do when I hear that voice, like, oh, I should learn about this more, I should train on it more, I don't disregard it. I just see how true it is. Does it mean I can't act now? If the answer is no, then I do it anyway. It doesn't, is it, if I said I wanted to be a lawyer, um, does that mean I don't have the knowledge, right? Does it mean I can't act now? Yes, it does, because you actually have to have a license to practice law. So
That's
I
right.
do need to go to get a degree and to get a certification, right? But if I said that I wanted to start a business, oh, but I don't know enough about law to start an LLC, No, I don't need to.
You
I
don't
can
need that.
act and start an LLC or an S corp without having a law degree, so I still need to move forward. So I know that was a lot. I apologize as I
Listen,
as
we're
I was
taking
teaching
it.
and
Don't
breaking that
look.
down.
Listen, I would have stopped you. We're good. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now I'm not gonna ask the rest of mine because I'm gonna ask you if you would come back. I have your contact, so we're gonna be in touch. I definitely gotta have you come back. But I got two more simple questions for you. All right.
Let's go.
These are simple. If you can give one unapologetic piece of advice to women in business, something they might be uncomfortable with, or something that you feel is necessary for them to hear, what would it be? Is it
Unapologetic.
something power to women? Yes.
I'm gonna
Unapologetic just means sorry, not sorry. I'm going to tell you
I'm
like it is.
I'm gonna I'm gonna take directly from my mentor, Grant Cardone, and I'm gonna say, don't be a little bitch. That would
Oh,
be my unapologetic.
I didn't expect that one. Wow.
Because
Okay.
that's what we're doing. We're making excuses, we're whining, we're complaining. And I don't mean women. This is obviously women take it. Um, but women suffer from imposter syndrome more than men do. And there's a reason why and people like minorities suffer more than like white men do. Like everybody suffers from imposter syndrome more than men do, though. Other genders, right? So as a woman, I would say don't be a little bitch. There's a thing like woman up,
Hmm.
and do it anyway. You figured it out in every other area of your life. You've made it work with what little you might have had or what little you've been given. Do it. You will figure it out. Everything I love quotes. There's a lady, her name is Marie Forleo. She has a book and it's called Everything is Figure Outable. And I agree 1000%. Do it, you will figure it out. Nothing you do is new. There is somebody that can mentor you, that can coach you, even if the mentoring is because you read their book, because you watched all their YouTube videos, because you looked at what they were doing and you just started mimicking and modeling that. But don't be a little bitch, because if you're complaining, if you're whining, if you're not doing it, that's what's happening.
I
That's
love
my
it.
unapologetic.
Woo, okay. Yeah, unapologetic for real. I got one more question for you, and then we're gonna talk about your giveaway so everybody knows what they get. And I already I got you committed for one more time. You definitely
I didn't
want
even
me.
say yes. Did y'all notice that I didn't say
She
yes?
said yes. She said
I
yes.
was I will
I'm
I would be
believing
happy
you.
to come back and speak with all of you guys.
Well, now I got to record
Now
it.
it's recorded.
Now, one thing I am going to ask you before this question, I would advise, if you can, since you're going to be sharing this, go back. There's some real good questions. We could literally go for 2 hours. I still got like six questions I can ask, and there's some good questions in the chat. I would love it for you to just go back and we could interact through that, because there's people that have questions there. And I think they're really, really like really big ones there that I know you
Yeah,
would
you guys
enjoy.
asked some powerful questions.
Yeah, I mean, Marvin tried to get to know you. So, as you said, but my last question is, when now that you know the surface of the platform and you came here, I'm going to ask you, what do you think the title means? What does it mean to you? I got to steal this because I do ask other people, but I also did get it from Uncle G, because I've been reading Uncle G for a while. So, what does the title unapologetic entrepreneur mean to you?
To me, what I would say is, um, you're not apologizing for who you are, what you do, or the success that you have.
Just stop it right there. You don't need
That was
elaboration.
it.
Love it. Now you did say you. Woo! Sorry, I just got a little chill there. Woo! Gotta enjoy that. I gotta do a little Ray Charles. Woo! So I got. He said I'm getting told to ask this question. All right, let me see if I find it. Let me see. She probably
Listen,
has.
you guys are my last thing today, so I
Let me
don't mind
see.
staying a little longer if people have a couple
Takira
more questions.
asked. All right, we. I think it's this one she asked. I think this is the last one she asked. Let me see. All right, right here. We all talk about attitude, mindset, belief, commitment, communication, and the why. Consistency, compelling reason, plan, etc. If wow, Takira, you really wanted me to read all this, huh?
This is a good question,
If
though.
you can only choose one thing, what would it be? Even
Consistency.
consistent. Oh, there you go.
And I'll tell you why, Takira. If you, no matter what, do the daily activity that's required of you, um, everything else will come. If I'm consistent, I'm going to start believing in myself. If I'm consistent, I'm going to start having a better attitude. If I'm consistent, my communication improves. If I'm consistent, I start to see the clarity in my purpose. If I'm consistent, then my mindset is actually able to be improved. The reason that most people struggle with trying to make sure they work on all these other areas is because they're not consistent. You have to
Mm,
commit and you have to be consistent, and everything else will follow. It will 1000% follow.
mm. Woo, man. Ah, go ahead, girl. I didn't expect all this, Diana. Man, if we would have had this at the conference, you might have. I'm glad I got you on here. Woo, that was good. Consistency is number one. Everything is all answered with consistency. Beautiful. Oh man, thank you. I want to thank you seriously from the bottom of my heart for like really coming on to this. We were laughing about this backstage. You had no idea what this was about. You just said
Not
yes
at
to say
all.
that.
I just said yes, but I said this, like, I wanna be a person that commits first and figures it out, and
Well,
so I said
you need to
yes.
take a step into your goals. So I appreciate that. Now, what is it that you have for the viewers, and how can they receive this? Like whatever it is you're gonna give them, because we're not in a studio where you could just throw things into the stand. So first of all, I know you got to send me the chart so we could try it ourselves. So I'm gonna take that.
Yes, so I'm
I'll
gonna
put
send
you
everybody the exercise, and it's called the 10X Super Life. So I'm gonna send it.
send it to me. I'll take care of it.
Perfect.
You got
I
my
was just like,
email.
Imma
You
send
got
it to
my email, my
somebody.
card. Yeah, you send it to
Uh,
me. I'll take care of that. But the other thing, I'm
aw,
curious
thank
what it
you,
is.
Linda.
Let them know what you're gonna give them. Hold down.
So one of the things that I just want to share is that even with my life coaching certification, the work that I was doing on myself, I realized that I wasn't thinking big enough when I was introduced to Grant Cardone and 10X. It was what made me realize that even what I thought was my big think was very small. And the way that I've been able to change my life because of it, um, I want you guys to be able to change yours. And I told you that mindset is a huge piece of that. And so I'm gifting everybody a copy of the 10X Rule, this beautiful book. It's an easy read. So if you guys aren't readers, don't be scared. It's an easy read. But this book talks about some of the principles that I spoke about, the action that you need to take, the decisions you have to make, the commitment and the consistency that you should actually have. It talks about it, and the goal is really to get you refocused. So whatever your goal is, you understand how you need to approach it and move forward. So I want to give everybody this book. And I didn't tell this to Leonardo, but I'm also going to give you, because this is the unapologetic entrepreneur, I'm also going to give you this little mini guide, and it's called the Millionaire Booklet. And the millionaire booklet is actually teaching you how you make a millionaire decision, how you do the math to figure out how you can make it happen for you, and then how you repeat that cycle over and over. So if your goal is more than a million, this is how you keep going to the next level and the next level and the next level. What I was going to do, and this is optional, I can ship them all to you or get them all to you in Orlando. And I don't know if the people are local or if you guys are from all over the world.
Send them to
But I
me.
do have a digital version. So I could also just give a digital version of both of these.
Well, I'm just so I could tell you how I am. I'm literally one of those people that I get Audible, but I still have the hard copy because
Yeah.
we all have libraries, you know. So you can ship those to. You can ship them to me. You can also send me the digital. We know who is watching because it's there. It's on the phone. So those people that are there, I will ship it to them, and I will send them the digital copy as well.
Okay,
Actually, you
perfect.
know what?
So I
The
will I
hard
will make
copy.
sure that you guys get the digital.
Yeah.
I see the question.
I got something here. The hard copy, for those of you that are going to convention, you might get it there, you know? I don't know. I don't know, maybe, but nah, I'll make sure you guys get it. I promise you. Especially all of you that were watching. I saw some people that are not part of the that are friends of mine, like I saw William on here. I'll make sure he gets a copy. So yeah, you can get them to me, and I'll get it to everybody.
I'll
It makes
I'll
it so much
connect with
easier.
you to figure out how we get them shipped. Whatever number was here, if you guys were live, don't watch this later and be like, "How do I get my copy?"
We know who it was. We know who was live. It went up to 17. I saw them. I saw them. It's recorded. We're gonna go back
You
and
got
watch
the
this show
names
with
for who
Sergi.
was in here.
Yep.
I'll make sure that he receives both. So I'll send the digital copy and then I'll ship out the books as well. I do see that Takira has the question, my before and after. So I was corporate America. I used to work for American Express for about 12 years before I'd stepped out this way. And there were a lot of restrictions on what you could do from a social media perspective when you were within the corporation. So I can't show you that, but I was a big deal in American Express. And I do have on my personal, which you guys can't follow, I'm sorry. But on my personal page, I will actually share that video of the day that I quit, the decision that I made, and the commitment I made to myself on the very, and I didn't have any savings. I didn't have any money. I cashed out my 401k so that I could actually try to just make it and figure out making it. And it's the best decision I ever made, and I don't look back. So I will actually see if I can find that because it's like a whole little post that I did that day that I made that decision to just say, okay, I quit. So
Wow, this is powerful. Thank you. I knew I was onto something when I ran into you and we started talking. I said, yeah, we're gonna connect.
I
So
have
guys,
clients in the Philippines, Annie. I'll make sure you get a digital copy.
oh, look at that. Annie, yeah, Annie said me that she wants. Yeah, we can. I know how to get it to Annie, and yeah, I could definitely get it to everyone. So as soon as you send me, you got my email because you got my business card that has all my information there. You could just send me the email from there, and me and you're gonna connect after this anyway. Because guys, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna have a part two to this. This is like free right here. I'm gonna milk it for what it is. This is a start. Today, Takira, she's part of our team, and she put a plaque they gave her, and she said, "Making connections and creating relationships." This is the start of a beautiful, beautiful relationship. Right now, we met at 10x. We're gonna be in touch, so we're gonna have her on the show again, definitely, because she was dropping nuggets and bombs and mics and everything else. If she
I
could flip
really
the
enjoy
table,
being here. You guys had great questions. So I love the energy and seeing everything coming up on there.
I appreciate it. You're the first person on the show that was actually watching, and I was like, "What did she see?" You were laughing at comments. I'm like, "What's going on?" I had to look at my phone and put it up.
I do
So I
webinars
want to thank
sometimes,
you.
you know, I know how to multitask a little bit.
I want to thank you for that. So, ladies, like always, ladies and gentlemen, there's a perfect way we ended the Herstory month, but we will have her back again as promised. It's been an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be here with you guys today. Until the next time, this has been another one from the Unapologetic Entrepreneur. We're out of here.
Bye, guys. That was